Earth had spent many years watching the galaxy from a distance. While countless alien civilizations fought for power, territory, or ancient grudges, humanity chose silence. People on Earth believed that joining a war among the stars would only bring destruction. Many remembered how hard humanity had worked to rebuild its home after its own past conflicts. Because of this, Earth announced a strict rule. They would stay neutral in all interstellar matters. Daesung, a trusted representative of the United Earth Council, supported this decision more than anyone else. He believed the human race needed peace more than glory. He often stood before crowded halls or global broadcasts, explaining that Earth was strong only when united. He reminded people that sending soldiers to fight in distant battles would not make humanity safer. Instead, he said humanity should protect its own people first. His calm voice and steady ideas made many trust him. Most humans agreed with Daesung. They felt the galaxy was full of problems that were not theirs to fix. Alien empires had been fighting for centuries, sometimes for reasons that even they no longer remembered clearly. Humanity saw no good reason to step into such chaos. Earth turned its focus inward, improving medicine, building better cities, cleaning the oceans, and exploring peaceful technologies instead of weapons. But even in peace, there were always those who worried. One of them was Hannah, a young scientist who spent long nights studying deep space signals. Her job was simple. She monitored every strange sound, every energy spike, and every unknown message from far beyond human territory. Hannah had a talent for noticing patterns others missed. She often sensed when something was wrong before the machines did. Late one night, as she worked alone in the quiet observatory, she detected faint signals that made her uneasy. They were small at first, tiny distortions that looked like background noise. But after hours of careful study, she realized they came from the outer sectors, where alien war activity was increasing. She brought her findings to her supervisors, showing them charts, recordings, and simulations that hinted at possible danger. Her supervisors listened, but they did not feel the same fear she felt. They believed the signals were nothing more than distant conflicts that had nothing to do with Earth. "The galaxy is always fighting," one of them told her. "This is just more of the same. Earth is not involved, and no one wants trouble with us. We pose no threat, so no one will bother us." Hannah did not agree. She knew the signals were too close to be ignored. Still, she followed orders and continued her work quietly, though the worry stayed with her like a shadow. Meanwhile, life on Earth continued peacefully. Children went to school. Workers filled the cities with life. Families enjoyed quiet evenings under clear skies. Humanity had created a world where fear did not rule, and where hope felt stronger than ever. But this peace made people slow to notice the dangers creeping toward them not far from Earth. Alien factions were growing desperate. Their wars had drained their resources. They needed new power, new land, and new opportunities. Some saw Earth as a neutral planet that stayed out of their affairs, and assumed that neutrality meant weakness. They saw a world that did not attack, did not expand, and did not take sides. To them, such a world was not peaceful. It was easy prey. Daesung attended another council meeting, where leaders discussed economic plans, energy programs, and peaceful exploration missions. Everyone seemed calm, confident that Earth's choices were right. Daesung himself felt satisfaction. He believed Earth's future was bright as long as they avoided other species' wars. But during that same meeting, Hannah sent another report. This time, she wrote a warning that was harder to ignore. She described increased fleet movements near human borders. She highlighted unusual energy bursts that suggested large-scale weapons. She explained that these events were happening closer each week. The council skimmed through her message, but still did not act. One member commented, "This has nothing to do with us. They are only passing by." We should not assume every sound in the universe is meant for Earth. Daesung agreed, though a small part of him wondered if Hannah might be right. Still, he did not speak his doubts out loud. He did not want to cause fear where none was needed. As time passed, more small warnings appeared, ships spotted at extreme distances, unmarked signals bouncing through the deep. But Earth had grown comfortable in peace. Even when some citizens discussed the strange news, most believed no one would dare attack a neutral world that offered no threat. Hannah continued her work, unable to shake her concern. She felt like someone watching dark clouds gather while everyone else enjoyed the sunshine. She kept thinking, neutrality only protects a world if others respect it. And in a galaxy full of desperate fighters, respect was becoming rare. One evening, Hannah stood outside the observatory after a long shift. She looked at Earth's night sky, bright with stars. She wondered if any of those distant lights hid ships heading toward them. She wondered if Earth was truly safe or simply unprepared. She thought of Daesung's speeches, his calm and confident tone. She admired his belief in peace, but she also feared what would happen if someone decided to test that peace. Earth was quiet. Too quiet, Hannah felt. While she returned to her desk, far across the galaxy, something began to move. A decision was made by a powerful alien Force One that believed Earth was small and harmless. They believed humans would not fight back. They believed no one would care if a neutral world disappeared. And as they prepared their engines and sharpened their weapons, Earth remained unaware of the danger approaching. Its people continued their peaceful lives, believing war was a distant thing that would never reach them. Humanity had refused to join the war. But the war was slowly coming toward humanity. And no one, not even Hannah, knew how close it already was. The attack came without warning. For years, Earth had believed that staying neutral would keep it safe, but the galaxy did not work that way anymore. A hostile alien fleet, desperate and hungry for resources, set its sights on a small human colony at the edge of settled space. It was a quiet place with simple homes, peaceful families, and workers who spent their days mining minerals and caring for their farms. No one there expected danger. No one thought they would be the first target. The attack began at dawn. The sky above the colony darkened as large enemy ships appeared without a sound. People stepped outside their homes, staring in confusion and fear. Before anyone had time to react, beams of light struck the ground, tearing through buildings and machines. The peaceful colony became a place of fire and smoke in moments. Engineer Jisoo was working near the central power station when the first explosions hit. The shockwave threw him onto the ground, and when he looked up, he saw flames rising from the housing blocks. He felt his heart pound as he tried to understand what was happening. He had never seen alien ships in person before, only in videos. Now they were hovering above him, like dark shadows ready to crush everything he knew. He stood up, coughing from the smoke, and ran toward the emergency shelter. But halfway there, he heard people shouting from the damaged communication tower. A part of the structure had collapsed, trapping 2 workers underneath. Without thinking, Jisoo changed direction. He rushed to help them, pulling aside the metal pieces with shaking hands. His arms burned from the weight, but after several long moments, he managed to free them. "Go to the shelter," he told them. "Move fast." They nodded and ran, but Jisoo stayed behind. The communication tower was damaged, but not completely destroyed. If he could repair the emergency system, maybe he could send a message to someone-anyone. At the same time, pilot Taiwan was inside the colony's small hangar. He had been preparing a routine supply flight when alarms started blaring. The entire hangar shook as a blast hit nearby. Taiwan grabbed his gear and climbed into his small scout ship. He knew he could not fight the enemy fleet alone, but he could escape, hide. and send a message to Earth. The colony needed help, and they needed it now. As he lifted off, he saw the full scale of the destruction below him. Homes burning, ships falling, people running in panic. The enemy fired at him the moment he reached the sky. He swerved, dodging the bright shots that cut through the air. His ship was fast, but the enemy ships were far more advanced. Taiwan felt sweat on his forehead as he pushed the ship harder than ever before. Behind him, Jisoo managed to power up a part of the communication tower. The screen flickered, showing static and faint colors. He worked fast, typing commands and rerouting signals. His hands trembled, but he refused to stop. Finally, he heard a faint beep. The system was ready. He spoke into the microphone with a shaky voice. "This is the outer colony. We are under attack. Enemy forces unknown. We need help. Please respond." There was no answer. He repeated the message again and again, hoping it reached someone out there. Tae-1 pushed his ship into open space, flying through debris and enemy fire. His ship took a hit on the left side, making the controls shake violently. But he did not slow down. He knew that if he stopped now, if he failed to send a warning, Earth might never learn what happened until it was too late. When he finally escaped the enemy's range, he sent out the distress message. "Colony under attack. Heavy casualties. We need immediate support. Earth, please answer." The message traveled across space. It did not take long for it to reach the United Earth Council. On Earth, Daesung was in the middle of a meeting when an assistant rushed inside with a pale face. "Sir, you need to see this," she said, handing him a tablet with the distress message playing. The room fell silent as the recording repeated. Explosions. Fire. The fear in Taiwan's voice. Everyone stared at the screen, shocked. They had believed no alien force would dare attack a human colony. They had believed neutrality protected them. Daesung felt his chest tighten. The images of burning buildings and collapsing shelters filled the screen. He felt the pain of every scream, every explosion. Humanity had never wanted to fight, but now the war had come to them. "We must respond," one council member said quietly. Some argued that helping one colony might drag Earth into a larger war. Others said that ignoring the attack would destroy public trust forever. The room filled with voices, fear, and confusion. Daesung did not speak at first. He watched the recording again and again, noticing the fear in Taiwan's voice and the destruction behind him. At last, Daesung stood. "They attacked us," he said softly. "They attacked humans who had done nothing to provoke them. If we ignore this, we show the galaxy that anyone can harm us without consequence. Peace cannot exist without safety. Safety cannot exist without action." The room became silent again. The distress message spread quickly across Earth's networks. People in cities, towns, and distant settlements watched in horror. They saw the colony burning. They saw families running for their lives. They saw the enemy ships hovering over human homes. Fear turned into anger. Anger turned into unity. Jisoo was still on the colony when the enemy ships moved closer to the communication tower. He heard the deep rumble of their engines and knew he had only moments left. He sent one last message before escaping through the rubble. Tae-1, flying far from the colony, looked back one last time. Smoke rose like dark clouds against the stars. His heart ached, knowing many people were still trapped. But he also felt the small spark of hope. Earth had received his message. They now knew the truth. On Earth, Hana stood in the observatory watching the distress signals come in. She felt the same chill she had felt during her earlier warnings. But now, her fears were no longer ignored. She knew this attack would change everything. The galaxy had picked Earth as a target, and humanity would not stay silent anymore. The news of the attack spread across Earth like a shockwave. People who had lived peaceful lives suddenly felt fear and anger growing inside them. They had always believed that neutrality kept them safe. But the burning colony and the desperate voices in the distress messages proved that the galaxy no longer cared about Earth's peaceful choices. The world that once tried to stay out of conflict now faced a reality it could not escape. Peizang stood in front of the United Earth Council as they gathered for an emergency meeting. Everyone looked tense and tired, as if the attack had drained the life from them. The room was quiet at first, but murmurs soon rose. Some leaders argued for stronger defenses. Others said Earth must prepare for war. A few still hoped the attack was an isolated event, something that would not happen again. Daesung listened to all of them, but his mind kept returning to the images of the colony burning. He remembered the fear in Taiwan's voice and the desperation in Jizu's messages. He felt responsible, not because he was the one who caused the attack, but because he was one of the strongest voices for neutrality. He had believed in peace so deeply that he ignored warnings, including Hannah's reports. At last, he stood. The room fell silent. Earth wanted peace, Daesung said. We still want peace. But peace means nothing if others can harm us without consequence. Neutrality did not protect the colony. It will not protect the rest of us. There was no anger in his voice, only sadness and resolve. We cannot pretend the galaxy is the same place it was years ago. We must accept that the war has already reached our borders. And if we do nothing, it will reach our homes next. The council members exchanged looks. No one disagreed this time. Within hours, Earth announced the creation of a new global force, the Terran Defense Coalition. It was not just an army. It was a union of every nation, every research institute, every manufacturing hub, and every willing citizen. Humanity, once divided by continents and cultures, now stood together for a single-purpose survival. Factories that once built peaceful machines now shifted to producing defense systems. Laboratories that created medical tools now developed shields and scanners. Pilots, engineers, scientists, and volunteers lined up to join the effort. For the first time in history, Earth was united under a single banner, not for conquest, but for protection. Hannah watched the announcement from the observatory. She felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Her warnings had been correct, but she had never wanted the world to reach this point. Still, she knew she had a role to play now. She returned to her work with renewed focus, analyzing signals and tracking enemy movements with more care than ever before. One day, Daesung visited the observatory personally. Hannah, he said as he entered her workspace. She stood and bowed slightly. Sir, I want to understand your findings better, he said. Your early warnings were important. We cannot afford to ignore anything now. Together, they studied the deep space signals. Hannah showed him where the enemy fleets had been moving, how their paths were slowly bending toward human territory. She played recordings of energy signatures that showed massive weapon systems being activated. She explained how the enemy forces seemed to be preparing for more strikes, not less. Daesung listened carefully to every detail. He no longer dismissed her concerns. Instead, he asked questions, took notes, and asked for suggestions. We need early detection systems, Hannah said. Not just here. Across the entire solar system. We need warning satellites, long-range sensors, and better communication lines. You will have everything you need, Daesung replied. Meanwhile, Taiwan reached Earth after a long and exhausting journey. His ship, damaged during his escape, barely made it to the docking platform. When he stepped out, he saw a group of officials waiting for him. Pilot Taiwan? One of them asked. Yes, he answered. You are being taken to the Coalition Command. They want to hear your account of the attack. Taiwan nodded. He felt both proud and burdened. The memory of the burning colony followed him like a heavy shadow. Inside the command center, he described everything he had seen, the ships, the weapons, the destruction. He explained how fast the enemy moved and how unprepared the colony had been. The commanders listened with worried expressions. "You escaped because of skill," one of them said, "but also because the enemy underestimated you. They will not make that mistake again." Taiwan felt a chill. He knew the truth in those words. Back on the ruined colony, Jisoo and a handful of survivors hid in underground shelters. They had little food, little water, and no idea if help was coming. Every day, they listened for enemy footsteps above them. Every night, they wondered if they would see another sunrise. But one thing kept them going: the belief that Earth had received their message. Jisoo clung to that hope more than anything. Weeks passed. The Terran Defense Coalition grew stronger each day. Ships were repaired and upgraded. New tools and weapons were tested. Young recruits trained endlessly. Families donated supplies. Scientists worked without rest. The once peaceful planet now pulsed with determination. Daesung became the face of Earth's response. He spoke calmly and clearly to the world, reassuring people while reminding them of the seriousness of their task. "We did not choose this war," he said in one broadcast, "but we will not allow anyone to harm our people again. We will defend our home, our families, and our future. Together, we will stand strong." People across Earth listened, many with tears in their eyes. For the first time, they felt unity stronger than fear. Hana's research soon revealed something important, a possible pattern in the enemy: fleet movements. She showed Daesung and the Coalition command how several enemy ships kept circling the outer regions, as if searching for something. "They are planning another attack," Hana said. "We must be ready." And Earth was ready. The first wave of newly prepared defense units took their positions. Pilots like Taiwan trained in updated ships. Engineers like Jisoo, though trapped far away, had inspired new ideas for emergency systems. Earth, once silent and neutral, now became a world of purpose and power. The galaxy had awakened a giant without realizing it. The war was coming closer each day, but humanity was no longer afraid. They were preparing to fight back. The day of Earth's first counterattack arrived quietly. There were no loud announcements or bright celebrations. Instead, there was a deep feeling inside every person, a mix of fear, hope, and determination. Humanity knew they could not erase what had happened to the colony, but they could stop it from happening again. They had spent weeks preparing, training, building, and studying every piece of information Hana had collected. Now it was time to act. Tae-1 stood inside the large launch bay, wearing a new pilot suit that felt strange on his skin. His old scout ship had been destroyed beyond repair, but the Coalition had given him something far better. The new ship was fast, sharp, and built with both Earth's technology and ideas inspired by alien designs. Engineers had created it in record time, working day and night. As Taiwan walked toward the ship, several other pilots joined him. They were young, but their faces carried a seriousness that came from seeing the world change. Every one of them knew they were part of something important. Taiwan climbed into the cockpit, took a deep breath, and placed his hands on the controls. "For the colony," he whispered softly. When the countdown reached 0, the hangar doors opened, and dozens of ships shot into the sky. The engines roared, leaving bright trails as they rose above Earth's atmosphere and into space. For the first time in history, humanity launched a united fleet. Meanwhile, deep underground in Coalition command, Daesung watched the fleet's progress on the large display screens. Around him, officers communicated rapidly, adjusting routes and tracking enemy movements. Daesung felt nervous, but he also felt pride. These pilots had not wanted war. Yet they were brave enough to fight. Hana stood beside him, watching the same screens. She had provided the coordinates for the enemy scouting ships that had been circling near human territory. The coalition's plan was to intercept them before they moved closer. If we strike fast, we can confuse them, Hana said. They still think humans are weak. They will not expect this level of coordination. Dae-sung nodded. Then today, they learned the truth. As the fleet approached the enemy zone, Taiwan and the others spread out into formation. The stars shone brightly around them, but there was no time to admire them. Hana's map showed the enemy ships moving in a loose patrol pattern. Stay focused, Taiwan said through the communication line. They don't know we're here yet. The squad moved silently, gliding through the darkness like shadows. Then, one of the pilots whispered, "I see them." Ahead, several alien ships floated like silent predators. Their dark metal surfaces reflected faint starlight, making them look like living shadows. Tae-1 gave the signal. The first shots burst through the void. The enemy ships jerked in surprise, confused by the sudden attack. They fired back, but this time humans were prepared. The new ships dodged quickly, their movements sharp and unpredictable. The enemy had never seen humans fight like this. Taiwan led the charge, weaving through enemy fire with impressive skill. His ship spun, rolled, and darted between the alien ships as he fired precise shots. Each blast struck an engine or weakened shield, making the enemy struggle to keep up. Back on Earth, people watched the battle through live feeds. Families gathered in homes, schools, and public squares, holding their breath as the fight unfolded. Some trembled with fear. Others whispered prayers. But all of them felt the same thing: pride. On the battlefield, one enemy ship tried to break away and escape. "Not today," Taiwan said. He accelerated, pushing his ship to the limit. When he got close, he fired a disabling shot that sent the enemy ship spinning. The pilot next to him cheered. "Nice shot." Taiwan didn't respond. He was too focused on the battlefield. In another part of space, human engineers tested weapons designed with the help of Jisu's improvised ideas. He had once used spare parts to alter energy devices on the colony, and those ideas had inspired new prototypes. These new weapons were smaller, lighter, and easier to fix during battle. They gave human ships an unexpected advantage: quick adaptability. The alien fleet started to panic. They had underestimated the humans completely. They had believed humans to be weak, slow, and harmless. But the humans fought with speed, creativity, and fierce determination. One enemy commander finally growled a command, and the remaining alien ships tried to retreat. But the humans were already surrounding them. Taiwan's voice came through the communication line, calm but firm. "Do not let them escape. If they flee, they will report everything." Human ships closed the gaps, cutting off escape routes. Their coordinated movements shocked the enemy even more. With no way out, the alien ships fought harder, but it was too late. Human pilots pressed forward with confidence. In the command center, Dae-sung clenched the edge of the table as the last enemy ship exploded in silence. The room erupted into relieved cheers. Officers hugged each other. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Hana exhaled deeply. "We did it." Dae-sung nodded slowly. "This was only the beginning," he said. "But it shows we can fight." Taiwan and the other pilots returned to the fleet carrier hours later. As Taiwan stepped out of his ship, ground crew members clapped and congratulated him. He smiled faintly, feeling exhausted but proud. "This is just the first step," he told one of the younger pilots. "And it was a good one," she replied, "but far away." On the damaged colony, Jisu still sat in the shadows of the underground shelter. Days had passed since the attack. Supplies were running low, and fear grew stronger. But when he finally reached a weak connection on his communicator, He received a message. It was from Earth. Help is coming. Hold on. Jisoo closed his eyes in relief. He shared the news with the survivors, and for the first time, they felt hope. The human victory had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Alien factions that once saw Earth as a silent, neutral world now realized it had teeth. Powerful teeth. Word spread quickly. The humans were not weak. They were adaptable. They were united. And they were dangerous when provoked. In the following days, strategic maps changed across alien war rooms. Plans were rewritten. Commanders hesitated. Some factions began to fear what a fully awakened Earth could become. The first major battle was over. But the war was only beginning, and as Earth strengthened its forces, everyone in the galaxy understood one thing clearly. They had picked the wrong foe. The rescue fleet reached the ruined colony at dawn, though dawn meant little in space. The light came from the sun rising over the distant horizon, shining on broken buildings and dark craters. The colony looked quiet, but the silence felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. Smoke still curled from places where fires had burned for days. The landing crews moved carefully, unsure of what they would find. Taiwan was among the first to step onto the surface. His boots touched the dust-covered ground, and he felt a deep ache in his chest. This was the place he had escaped from, the same place where families had once lived in peace. Now it felt like a graveyard. He began searching the ruins with a team of soldiers and medics. They passed collapsed houses, overturned machines, and melted metal piles that had once been vehicles. The air was thick with the smell of burnt materials. "Do you think anyone is still alive?" A young soldier asked quietly. Taiwan did not answer right away. He scanned the wreckage and finally said, "If they survived the attack, they're hiding underground. We need to find the shelter entrances." Meanwhile, far below the surface, Jisoo sat with the remaining survivors in the dimly lit shelter. They were tired, hungry, and frightened. But when the ground above them trembled with faint impacts, Jisoo felt something different. This time, not fear, but hope. The sound was not from enemy ships. It was the sound of rescue teams searching. "We need to signal them," he said. He tapped the broken metal pipe that ran along the shelter ceiling. It echoed faintly, sending a soft ringing sound upward. Then he tapped again, and again got above ground. Taiwan paused. "Did you hear that?" The soldier beside him frowned. "Hear what?" Taiwan raised his hand. "Quiet, listen." A faint tapping sound reached them, barely noticeable. But Taiwan recognized the rhythm. It was not random. It was a signal. "Someone's down there?" He shouted. In moments, the team began digging through the rubble with both tools and bare hands. Dust filled the air as metal pieces were lifted away. At last, they uncovered the entrance to the underground shelter. When the door was pried open, weak light spilled down the stairs. Jisoo shielded his eyes and stepped forward first. Behind him, survivors gasped at the sight of the rescuers. "Thank you," Jisoo whispered. Tae-won stepped forward, helping him climb out. "We came as fast as we could." Jisoo looked around at the ruined colony, his face full of pain and relief. "I didn't think we would make it." "You did," Taiwan said. "And now we're bringing you home." The rescue team helped the survivors into transport ships. Many were injured, exhausted, or grieving, but they were alive. As the last survivor boarded, Taiwan looked at the destroyed colony one final time. Rage rose in his chest, hot and sharp. The enemy had attacked innocent people. They had chosen a peaceful world, and they had left scars that would never disappear. Back on Earth, news of the rescue spread quickly. People gathered around screens, watching the survivors step out of the transport ships. Families cried tears of relief. Strangers sent messages of support. Entire cities lit their buildings in bright colors, honoring the rescued colony. Daesung watched the arrival from the council balcony. His eyes softened when he saw children stepping off the ships, holding tightly onto their parents. He felt the same mixture of sadness and pride that millions of people felt across Earth. Hana stood beside him. "We saved them," she said. "Yes," Daesung replied, "but the enemy will try again. We must be ready." And Earth was ready. The Terran Defense Coalition had grown stronger, faster, and smarter. New fleets were being built. New technologies were being tested. New alliances were forming. The enemy, once confident in their power, now faced a force they had not expected: a united humanity. The next major battle came sooner than expected. The hostile alien faction sent a large fleet to stop Earth from gaining more strength. They believed humans would still be weak after the rescue mission. They were wrong, as the enemy ships entered the outer region of human space. They were met by a massive formation of Terran vessels. The sight made many alien commanders hesitate. They had expected small defense groups, not a full fleet. Taiwan led one of the main squadrons. His ship moved smoothly, responding instantly to his commands. Hana's sensor upgrades allowed the fleet to spot enemy movements faster than ever. Jisoo, though injured and still recovering, had contributed new ideas for emergency repairs that allowed damaged ships to stay in battle longer. The battle began with a bright flash as the first barrage of weapons fired. Space lit up with streaks of energy, explosions, and fast-moving ships. Human pilots fought fearlessly, weaving between enemy fire and responding with powerful strikes. Every time an enemy ship tried a new tactic, humans adjusted quickly. Taiwan darted through enemy formations, hitting their engines and weapon systems with precise shots. "Keep pushing forward," he ordered. "They're breaking." And they were. The enemy fleet grew desperate, confused by how adaptable the humans were. They had never seen such unity, such creativity, such fierce unwillingness to surrender. In the final moments of the battle, the alien flagship attempted to escape, but the Terran fleet surrounded it, forcing it to shut down its weapons. The ship surrendered, something the enemy faction had not done in generations. When the battle ended, cheers erupted across Earth. People lit up the skies with fireworks. Families hugged each other. Streets filled with celebrations. Humanity had not only survived the attacks, they had defeated a powerful enemy. Daesung appeared on every screen across Earth, and on many screens in distant colonies. His face was calm and strong. "People of Earth," he said, "we did not ask for this war. We did not seek conflict. But when the enemy came to our door, we stood together. We protected our people, and we showed the galaxy that Earth will defend itself when threatened." His voice grew stronger. "We will never start wars. But if others bring war to us, we will finish it." Across the galaxy, alien factions watched the broadcast with wide eyes. Some felt fear. Others felt respect. A few felt curiosity about this new, powerful species that fought with both heart and intelligence. Hana watched the speech from the observatory, feeling hope rise inside her. Jisoo, still recovering in a medical center, smiled for the first time in days. Taiwan, cleaning his ship after the battle, nodded quietly. Humanity had changed forever. Earth was no longer a silent world on the edge of the galaxy. It was a rising. POWE are a united force, a warning to anyone who thought humans were easy to break. The galaxy had picked the wrong foe. And now everyone knew it.